Good morning. In continuation with our previous lectures on the Paris Peace Conference, today we will get ourselves familiar with the course of peace after the bloody battles of the second decade of the 20th century, which are collectively known as First World War. By now, you have an idea of the unfortunate events of this war, which destroyed lives and deprived people of their basic rights at a scale never seen before. It damaged the human civilization on all fronts. Millions were lost in the war, while many more lost the means to a decent, normal life. As the war ended, leaders gathered and mulled over the process of peace. In this lecture, we will learn about the role of the Big Four as they maneuvered the peace talks and shaped the future of the war. Who they were, what were their interests, and how they delivered. Georges Clemenceau was the Prime Minister of France when the peace talks started. Owing to his efforts during the war, he was nicknamed as the Father of Victory. When Clemenceau started his career in 1870s, France was losing the Franco-Prussian War. From this point on, he held a grudge against Germany for the wars France had to face. France had suffered more than any other country during the First World War. 1/4 of Frenchmen between 18 to 30 died. It was a terrible loss of young population. The economic collapse, coal mines and factories were destroyed. Nearly 20% of all crops, 90% of iron ore and 65% of steel were ruined. The economy was in shambles and France wanted compensation from Germany. Even more than compensation or revenge, France needed security. Although Germany had been defeated, they would always share a border. The French Foreign Ministry's goal was to neutralize the threat of further German violence through disarmament, economic reparations, and possible reseparation of German provinces. Yet Clemenceau was realistic enough to know that France would have to continue to deal with a unified Germany, and therefore he focused more on security through the preservation of wartime alliances. Clemenceau didn't form any close relationship with other leaders during the conference. He viewed Wilson as an arrogant man, ignorant of European politics, and he didn't trust Lloyd George. Clemenceau's public statements were deliberately vague. He didn't really care about the redistribution of German colonies or problems in the Middle East. Wartime declarations called for the liberation of Belgium, the end of occupation of French territories, and French control of Alsace-Lorraine. These cartoons published during the peace conference show us how Clemenceau was viewed by others. And here are a couple of statements. Once he said, "My life hatred has been for Germany because of what she has done to France." And this emotion reflected throughout the peace conference. After German armistice, he said, "Yes, we have won the war and not without difficulty, but now we are going to have to win the peace, and that will perhaps be even more difficult." David Lloyd George was the Prime Minister of Britain and a brilliant politician. He had principles, but he was pragmatic enough and he was willing to be flexible. Lloyd George was rather ignorant in the subject of foreign affairs, but this gap of knowledge occasionally caused him to make mistakes. But with well informed advisors and his common sense, he usually managed sound decisions. George served his country throughout World War I. Initially, he was a minister of munitions, then worked as war minister, and he was elected as prime minister in 1916. He led Britain through the darkest part of the war to victory, as Clemenceau did in France. As the Paris Peace Conference opened in 1919, George was fresh from re-election at the head of a coalition government. Unlike Woodrow Wilson, George supported imperialism with a strong local government. He included leaders from several British colonies in the delegation. Britain went into the conference having already achieved several of its major goals. The German fleet was under British control, and many German colonies had been absorbed into the British Empire. Lloyd George's main objective at the conference was to protect British interests and build strong relationships with other world powers, especially the United States. George did not want to destroy Germany with the treaty. He believed a healthy, united Germany would balance French and Russian power and help Europe heal after World War I. However, he fought for the toughest economic reparations in order to combat Britain's financial difficulties. George was once asked how he had done at the Paris Peace Conference. He said, "Not badly, considering I was seated between Jesus Christ and Napoleon." Woodrow Wilson, the US President, when he arrived at Paris for the peace conference, he became the first US President to travel to Europe while in office. Wilson intended only to stay for the preliminary conference, but he ended up participating for the most important 6 months, January to June. Woodrow Wilson was an idealist who saw the war as a fight against militarism and took office in 1916, meaning to keep the US out of the war. But United States entered the fight by the spring of 1917. By character, Wilson was stubborn and intolerant of others' viewpoints. He alienated prominent Republicans, many of whom supported his policies on the war. He didn't take criticism well and always made decisions he considered to be morally right. But this never stopped Wilson to sometimes frame his decisions to fit his ethics. For example, he insisted that he had sent troops to South America purely to defend democracy, despite the clear financial motive he had. The United States gained power during the war. By the time of the armistice, the American Army and Navy rivaled some of the strongest European nations. The European allies collectively owned over $7 billion to the US government. Wilson's focus during the conference was to form a lasting peace, which he believed could be established in the world with democracy. His system of collective security was a system of global alliances in which allies would defend each other against aggressors. Germany had accepted Wilson's 14 points as a basis for peace at the armistice, but they were greatly disappointed when they found the final draft of the peace greatly vary from the initial 14 points. When Wilson addressed the US Congress in 1917, he said, "The world must be made safe for democracy. Its peace must be planted upon the tested foundations of political liberty." He also said, "A general association of nations must be formed under a specific covenant for the purpose of affording mutual guarantees of political independence and territorial integrity to great and small states alike." Vittorio Orlando represented Italian people as their prime minister in the Paris Peace Conference. Orlando limited himself to a junior role in the Council of Four. He didn't take much interest in matters not directly involving Italy. Italy was not as involved as others in decisions about Germany, as it didn't share a border and never fought alone against them. Orlando had a serious falling out with his allies, especially Wilson, over Italy's claims to formerly Austrian territory. On the question of the Fiume, which was contested by Yugoslavia after the war, Wilson appealed over Orlando's head to the Italian people, a maneuver that failed. Orlando's inability to get concessions from the Allies rapidly undermined his position in his own people, and he had to resign on June 19, same year. This slide is about the Council of Ten, which was formed prior to the group of four nations. This Council of Ten comprised of 5 nations. The Big Four were part of this, and Japan was also included. The head of these states and a delegate from each state formed the Council of Ten.